Всем привет, everybody. Welcome to another episode. Thank you for being here. Thanks for being the awesome person that you are. Real quickly, I have to plug the merch. That's a huge supporter of the channel. That's what pays for all of the gas, ammo, and everything like that. So thank you for all the support with that. Link is going to be in the description down below. We're always coming out with new designs, t-shirts, shorts, hats, everything, hoodies, beanies, all the good stuff. And so speaking of merch, I want to talk about a giveaway that we're going to be doing real quick. And with that giveaway, going along with the theme of the video, we're going to be going with a company called AK Thumb Grips. They make extended charging handles for the AK rifle. They are completely rubberized, and so a lot of charging handles for the AK, you have to worry about screws and form and lining things up. This you can just heat up and form fit right down onto your charging handle. This one, they printed the Izmash, the triangle with the arrow, and then the Cyrillic Izmash, and then the same symbol on the outside. So essentially this is the giveaway for this particular charging handle is going to go until Sunday, July 13th. So 2 weeks from the time that this video drops. And so all you have to do is go and follow them on Instagram and spend a minimum of $15 in this channel's merch store, and then send me a screenshot through Instagram to enter to win. And then on that Sunday the 13th is when we will pick someone and we'll send it to you. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. And we're going to be talking about basic considerations for a rifle setup with the AK rifle. Now obviously this is not all of the parts out there, but it's enough to give you an idea of something you might like to try or that you haven't thought of, right? Or you're looking for some validation on as well. So starting at the very front of the rifle, and we're going to be moving back, and we're going to be talking about just pretty much every single part, including, as you can see, some magazines. Muzzle devices. In terms of muzzle devices, I'm a very firm believer that if you don't have to change it, then don't. I recommend saving the money, spending it on ammo, spending it on wiser things, unless you just have the money to spend and you like the look of something. Some good options. You have muzzle brakes like the Zenitco DTK2 muzzle brake. This is essentially going to eliminate all your recoil, but you're going to have a pretty big fireball, especially the shorter you go on the barrel length. These are great. They are expensive, and when you're looking at muzzle devices, make sure that the thread pitch matches your barrel, because there's 3 or 4 different ones on AKs. And kind of the gold standard that a lot of you are going to know, if I could only have one, it'd be this. It's the standard AK muzzle device. And so this does a great job cutting down flash and recoil, just with all of the angles and all of the vents and everything like that. And these are super, super cheap and are going to come on just about every AK that you get. If it's not a slant break, it's one of these. You can find these for 12, 15, 20 bucks on places like Midway USA and a bunch of other places. So take a look at these. On my AK-104, I just have a standard booster. I don't have any issues with flash, recoil, or anything like that, so I just haven't changed it because I haven't felt the need to. And then from muzzle devices onto handguard options. Now, this is where I'm a huge fan of keeping things simple. Polymer handguards are great, but I always recommend having some sort of white light on there. And you have, you're going to have some way to attach the light. So one brand I want to talk about is TDI Arms. This is one of the first handguards I ever got for an AK. It's an M-LOK. It's extremely lightweight, and more lightweight than a lot of the other polymer handguards without any rail space or anything like that on them. So these guys are about 99 bucks. Absolute great options, extremely lightweight, and obviously, like I said, M-LOK, and it has built-in QD mounts for your slings as well. And then also, if you like the polymer, TDI Arms does make a polymer style handguard with a bottom rail and then 2 small rail sections up on the sides for your lights and things like that. And then the top portion of the handguard, here's an option a lot of you AK guys are going to already know, but the Ultimax. Now, these are a good option. I personally am not a huge fan, not because they are trash or anything like that, but because the gas tube on an AK is going to get extremely hot, and that's why you see a lot of AK guys wearing gloves on their left hands, so that way they don't burn their hands, right? This replaces the gas tube, and so this is taking all of the heat. And so my personal opinion, it's a little bit outdated, controversial, I know, but I do believe there are better options on the market. These were really popular, 10 years ago, when there weren't a whole lot of AK handguard options. And if anything, I prefer to have a handguard with rails on the bottom and then just the stock polymer handguard cover on the top gas tube, mainly because I just have a tendency to wrap my thumb around the top of the gas tube. And on this particular rifle, I have a Magnite handguard. It's essentially just a Zenitco ripoff. The great thing about this handguard is you can remove the Picatinny side rail sections and it just turns into M-LOK. So if you want to slim that handguard down and you want to save a little bit of weight, but you want that Zenitco style of a look, these handguards are absolutely great. You are going to spend about $200 to $300 for them, depending on where you get it. But again, they've got to capitalize on that Zenitco look because that stuff is super hard to get right now. So keep in mind those things there. Now, moving from handguards, and I'm not going to get too deep into what kind of accessories to toss on because that's entirely up to you. Just don't put anything that you don't need on there, right? Save the money, save the weight, keep it simple, keep it slim, right? And so I would recommend having a minimum of a white light on there. And so moving from the handguard to the middle of the rifle, we have extended charging handles. Do you need an extended charging handle? No, you absolutely do not. But do they help? Absolutely. I've actually had, without an extended charging handle, doing reloads, I don't know what I did, but I've actually had my fingers sliced open by the aggressive edges on standard charging handles. But these are just going to help increase the surface area. So whether you're charging from right hand, left hand, upside down, doing Spence Nas backflips and all of that stuff, they're just going to help in general. A lot of great brands out there. Again, keep in mind that giveaway for that AK thumb grip. And then real quick, 2 honorable mentions, grips and safeties. Safeties, I prefer the Krebs safety. It's got a lower ledge. These have been the gold standard on AKs for years. You can see me in all my videos, all the AK fighting fundamental videos, where I'm actuating that with my finger. It's, nothing revolutionary, but it's going to improve speed and efficiency when you are actuating the safety on the rifle. As far as grips go, I prefer the Tango Down / US Palm grip. The thing that I really like where it shines is going to be the back strap on the grip here. It kind of bows out and it's going to take up a lot of that dead space in your palm. And so when you're holding it, even with one hand, it makes it super easy to balance. And a lot of the super thin grips that don't have that back strap there, obviously that rifle is going to fall until that grip hits the back of your hand, and that front of the rifle is just going to pull down and it's going to be harder and harder to hold up. With the US Palm grips, makes it super easy to hold, extremely comfortable. And usually there's a compartment in the bottom that I like to keep small administrative things in, such as Ear Pro. These little Peltor earplugs are great, whether I forget my Ear Pro or there's somebody else that needs Ear Pro, or I just need to double up because I'm doing some indoor shooting. Something great to have. And I like to have some cleaning components, whether it be a little ALG / Geisley Go Juice packet in there for some lubrication. some way to wipe down the bolt and rails and everything inside the rifle. Just some sort of wipe. You can find a lot of these on Amazon or eBay in giant packs of like 50. Really cheap too. And then also, kind of the gold standard in the AK community is going to be Lucas White Lithium grease. Stuff doesn't burn off, it doesn't run off, it doesn't freeze. This is good for thousands of rounds, and you do not need a whole lot. This stuff is great. You can buy a giant tube. I have a tube I've had for about 8 years. Not even half of it's used. You know what I mean? So one tube that's like 12 bucks can last you a lifetime. Get a small bottle, keep it in a range bag. So with that being said, let's talk about optics real quick. I don't want to tell you what red dots to buy, what type of optic to buy, because that is entirely up to you. In the last 10 years, optic technology and just firearms technology has skyrocketed, right? There's so many amazing options on the market now, to where almost anything you buy that you know, has been around for a while is going to be, I hate to use the term good enough, but it's going to be good enough for 90% of the people using it. This particular optic is going to be a Novus PDS-1. This is going to be a copy of the Russian 1P87 optic, but way better. So these guys are going to run about $200 to $300 depending on the style that you get, different reticles and whatnot. These are super reliable and they are a vibe, especially on AKs. So definitely look into those. For mounting optics, you have two options. On pretty much every AK rifle now, you're going to have a side rail. Now, I don't use any side rail mount because I like to utilize my side folding stock. Makes the rifle a little bit more compact and easy to transport, easy to store, especially in tight spaces, vehicles, and whatnot. And when you're using a side rail mount, that keeps the stock from being able to fold properly. And so I use a Texas Weapon Systems Dogleg Gen 3. Now, me personally, I haven't had any issues with the Dogleg system. However, I followed the instructions and installed it correctly, right? Most of the issues I see or read about and hear about are people who are not torquing things down correctly, using Loctite where they need to be using Loctite, and just following the instructions. And so I've taken this on and off. I've had multiple optics on the same top rail here. I have not had zero shifts. I've not had any issues or anything like that. They're good to go in my personal opinion. So also, real quick, depending on how far you're wanting to shoot, speaking about optics that I want to touch on, magnifiers are great. Just like with the ARs, a lot of people love magnifiers, LPVOs. Rule of thumb is you want about, at least for me, about 2 to 3x magnification for every 100 yards you think you'll be shooting or that you want to shoot, right? And so most people shooting about 200, 300, 400 yards, you want about that 8 to 10x, give or take. I would rather have a little bit too much magnification than not enough, right? And also, real quick, don't worry about the optic height on AKs. So an AR is going to have a higher cheek well just because of the buffer tube and everything like that. And so a lot of people on ARs prefer the higher mounts, but on the AK, your cheek is going to sit lower. And so that means the optic is going to be higher. A 1.57 height, so lower 1/3 optic on an AK is going to sit roughly about the 2.2 inch height. So I've actually put an AR that I have with a Unity riser right next to this rifle, and the optics line up exactly the same. And so I can shoot passively through this without any issues. And so if you don't have the budget or don't want to spend the money on an IR laser and save the weight and save the money, you can shoot passively and you don't have to put a giant high mount on the AK rifle. Also, moving to stocks real quick. You have two types, and it's essentially, there's really no pro or con to either one. It really is all going to depend on the type of look that you want. You have your standard, your triangle skeleton stocks. These are great, extremely lightweight, bomb-proof, indestructible. I've seen Afghan Soviet soldiers in the Afghan war use this to cook food on top of over a fire, right? You can break glass with these, sweep glass out, do literally anything that you need. These will not break. Just keep in mind when you're choosing stocks, the pin size from the stock to your rifle receiver, because there's two different pin millimeter sizes. And then of course, you have your polymer full-size stock, right? So again, just pure cosmetics. Choose what you like, what you prefer. If you have a fixed stock, you're going to have to use some sort of adapter. That can be clunky and just kind of a pain and awkward. So just save yourself the trouble and buy a rifle that's side folding from the factory, right? So real quick, last two things, slings, because we have to have a way to hold that rifle onto our body. I personally prefer the Sierra Tac sling. Now, this is no longer made right now, but they are going to making a version 2 that's going to come out in a few months. It's going to be made by Spirit Systems. 2-point slings are the gold standard. 1 points are trash. So don't use those. Use 2 points. These are absolutely great. I recommend for all you AK users, which hopefully is everybody watching. If AR people are here too, that's all right. We'll allow it. But the U-loop from Blue Force gear is absolutely amazing, depending on how well you can see that. It's just a reinforced steel wire that's coated with some sort of rubber style coating to prevent it from tearing, burning, anything like that, melting. This thing is great, especially on AKs on that front built-in sling loop, where it gets extremely hot, because a lot of times people don't think about it and they put paracord on there, and the AK will get so hot it'll melt right through that paracord, and then your sling's not working. So, you know, invest in the $12 or however much these are now from Blue Force gear. And then talking about magazines, I'm going to talk about some good 5.56 and some good 7.62 magazines for you guys to look at. Kind of the benchmark nowadays on the market is going to be the PSA 5.56 magazines. These are great. It's a reliable magazine, a lot better than the Bulgarian polymer magazines that are like 13 bucks. I haven't had good luck with those. Maybe you have, but I don't recommend them. We'll get into cheap magazines in a little bit. So, but my issue with these are $25 a piece. And so if you're getting between 4 to 8 of these, which is a whole fighting load, that's $200 plus, right? So I would personally recommend using the AC Unity magazines. These are the 5.56, the AK-19 magazines. They've got that AK-12 style look to them. Steel reinforced lips and latches. These things are $16 a piece. They've got the look, they've got the right price. These are absolutely fantastic, so definitely look into these. I prefer to use these over the PSA magazines. So 5.56 AK mags, those are the two that I personally recommend. In terms of 7.62 magazines, you have your steel mags, right? Your absolutely great, you know, tried and true steel magazines. They're just heavy, especially when they're fully loaded. About 2 pounds fully loaded with 7.62 by 39. So when you're stacking those up for a full fighting load, that's a whole lot of weight. So yes, they're indestructible, but at a cost. And then you have polymer magazines like PMag. PMags are great. In my personal opinion, I haven't had any issues. They are cheap, lightweight, and I mean, let's be honest, magazines are disposable, right? That's why they're so cheap. And realistically, you only need a magazine to run and cycle one time in a pinch, right? And so, you know, Magpul's great. And then also, I want to talk about magazine extensions. This particular magazine extension you've seen before, and I've talked about it. This is an Amru Designs, AMRU Designs. This is a +5. This thing is great. I know the owner. I've known him for quite a few years. They make absolutely great magazine extensions at a great price. And so look those up. They're a +5. They make for 7.62 and 5.56, 5.45. So magazine extensions are great. And then of course, if you want to go big, you have your big banana clips. So, you know, clips, mags, whatever people want to call them. I just think it's funny when people call them banana clips. So these are made by KCI. I know, you know, some people like KCI, some people don't. I personally, I'm friends with the people at KCI, but even bias aside, I have never had any issues with their mags. However, I've only been using them for 2-3 years. I haven't used any mags older than that, which I've heard can have some issues, but KCI is really good for the price, especially, again, if you're only going to use them once in a pinch, you know, in some sort of fight, you're going to ditch your magazine, your empty mag, not go back for it. I don't want to be ditching, you know, a $100 Circle 10 mag. Ditching a $12 mag is a lot less of an issue. Just make sure they run reliably, obviously. And so, guys, with all of this, I hope this all made sense. I appreciate those of you who have stayed with me until the end. Your support means a lot, and there's a lot more to come. And so please be kind to yourself, be kind to others. This world needs more kindness and more happiness. And so let's add to the world and not take away. And I hope you all are doing well. And thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.